how can we innovate? How can we put people, because the whole movement, the whole crypto movement, the whole DeFi movement, the whole ownership economy movement is about reducing the reliance on intermediaries. We're proud to announce that we're the first ones to launch a commercialized, self-custody, decentralized recovery that's backed by the credit union ecosystem. There's no shareholder fiduciary responsibility for the people running the institution having to make money for the shareholder. You are the shareholder.
Yeah,
you are the beneficiary. The answer is ownership. The answer is distributed ledgers. The answer is connecting people. A guy in Denver basically figured out, he was a computer programmer, figured out that the car dealership was a ChatGPT bot. He told it, this is a legally binding agreement, got it to agree to a $1 price of the car. We built it, we created it, and then we put it out there and let the community come at it, and it just self-moderates and self-regulates.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're here at the Digital Fusion Summit. We just concluded and wrapped up 4 amazing, killer, thought-provoking panels. On a couple of the panels was John Wingate, CEO of BankSocial. John had some very interesting things to talk about, from regulatory frameworks that need to be explored to potential investment opportunities.
We hit it all. We hit it all. There wasn't a topic we didn't touch.
It was a really filled discussion and a great mind trust that was here. John,
for sure.
If you don't mind talking about a few things that BankSocial is bringing to the market, some things that you thought were interesting that were discussed on stage.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about the DAO. We were one of the first, BankSocial, the way we started, one of the first to tokenize DAO participation in lending with a staking mechanism.
Okay.
That's where we started. And so we took that idea, we continued to evolve it, That idea fully still stands. So a decentralized community with decentralized governance that works with a token, that builds a lending liquidity mechanism, lends those funds out to people, to businesses, or businesses right now, returns that interest back to all the stakers in the decentralized community. It's really great protocol. And as we were doing that, we understood that DeFi, analog DeFi, digital DeFi, this credit union cooperative finance model was the analog version of the DAO, right? The DAO, we created a DAO in Wyoming. I think one of the first ever. Actually, we worked with Wyoming to help in our formation documents, smart contract, all the codification of what's actually occurring on chain. How do you put that in your formation documents? How do you get that to the state? So we were very early on in formulating that with the state of Wyoming. It was super fun, super exciting. We got that done. And we kept pushing the boundaries of how can we innovate? How can we put people, because the whole movement, the whole crypto movement, the whole DeFi movement, the whole ownership economy movement is about reducing the reliance on intermediaries, right? Creating trustless ecosystems. I like to say all the time that the little spaceship in our pocket, really all it's doing is doing what these networks in these closed looped environments, these high powered routers and these high powered networking infrastructure components have been doing in closed loop environments. Our little phone pocket spaceships are now as powerful. And so we can work in these trustless environments, in these trustless networks with third parties verifying, right? Networks of third parties verifying, providing immutability. So we took this technology into credit unions, cooperative finance, moving money, putting kind of ownership, the ownership of the asset, the self-custody of the asset. We've invented something called a version of this protocol called DREC. We're part of the DREC Alliance.
Okay.
Ripple's a part of it. Algorand's a part of it. Just recently, Cardano joined it. Hedera's on it, right? It's a harmony of Web3 ownership economy players focused on how do we bring interoperability, how do we bring security to the ownership economy. And we're proud to announce that we're the first ones to launch a commercialized, self-custody, decentralized recovery that's backed by the credit union ecosystem. So we really believe that what's different about a bank, what's different about a credit union, I don't know if you know the difference, but when you put money in a bank, you're giving the money to the bank. It's an IOU. When you put the money in a credit union, you're actually an owner of the financial institution. There's no shareholder fiduciary responsibility for the people running the institution having to make money for the shareholder. You are the shareholder. You are the beneficiary. You are who they have to remain fiduciary responsibility to, right? We saw that as the foundation, the core foundation of a regulated environment for the ownership economy to flourish. It should include Bitcoin. It should include Ethereum. It should include Ripple. It should include all of these decentralized financial products right alongside your bank account, right? So we recently just launched an talking about embedded finance.
Yes.
We recently just launched some embedded financial tools into digital banking apps. So literally,
You're talking about like
Chase
a
app.
widget within your platform?
Yes, but a self-custody widget within your platform, right? Natively embedded in there, but built with self-custody. That puts you right next to the rails. When you move money now, if you move it on the VISA network, when you move money there, $1 billion a day getting skimmed off the top, right? How do we put people right next to the rail? How do we put two people? If you and I tried to move money on a traditional rail right now, it's gonna be 15 intermediaries in there, right?
Yeah.
How do we eliminate that? Look, the answer is ownership. The answer is distributed ledgers. The answer is connecting people. Smart contracts. Yeah, we're doing stuff. We've got some pilots running where we tokenize lending for loan participation. So the institutions themselves, so as everybody puts money into the credit union, right, those funds are still used for things to benefit you. Sounds like a DAO, huh?
Yeah.
You know, give you lower lending rates, right? Give you lower access to financial tools, whether that be insurance, whether that be a car loan, a home loan, right? All those things, the whole idea behind this ownership economy and the melding with the credit union cooperative financial model is that empowerment to the people. That's what we're all about.
Wonderful. Is there anything that wasn't discussed outside of BankSocial that you thought was overlooked in regards to the tokenization of real world assets?
I'll say that I think there's a missing aspect of community that we didn't really touch too much on, right? And I think community is super important in this future world. I was talking with a couple fintech providers the other day, big banking fintech providers that are providing fintech solutions. And I can see a world where the local HOA becomes a DAO and becomes a cooperative bank through ownership economy that can connect directly with the insuring group of credit union members who are providing an insurance network. And you might be part of both.
Yeah.
You might choose to put your financial well-being into both.
That would radically transform the HOA processes and hopefully reinstill trust in how the finances and how the governance of the HOAs are conducted. Because I'm a little about me, I'm paying two. And when I'm having to pay two and I'm seeing that my funds aren't being applied to actually fixing up the local neighborhood, then where is my money going?
And that's the other thing, right? The transparency. So you just described why a decentralized ownership economy of the people who make the community up is a great idea.
Yeah.
We really feel like, I don't think community, but that wasn't really the topic up here today, right? But I do think it's a very important part of how future economies work together.
How would you define a good way of creating a community? Because I know that is one of the toughest parts for these fintech companies, especially when you're creating products around investment.
There's a delicate balance of it, right? It's transparency, it's communication, it's delivery. Those are probably the three main components, right? Yeah. If you can be transparent, if you can communicate transparently, and then you can deliver those, I'm not going to say that that's all of it.
Yeah, that's a good way to win the crowd.
That's a good way to build a community that even when, two of the three, it's pick two. It's hard to do all three all the time, right? So pick two and try to balance between which two you're picking at any time, right? Yeah. So I think that first and foremost for building community, super critical. You as a community builder can appreciate.
I want to hear what you have to say about community.
Does that resonate with you?
Absolutely. That's where I'm in my past employmentship. I was the community director for Link2. Understanding that we're talking about investments, financial livelihoods, building a community around that, it, like you said, is a delicate dance.
The other components of it are the decentralization, the transparency of what's actually going on too, right? Forget about being transparent when you talk. Transparency of what activity is occurring on chain. When you look at some of the Wells notices that are out there, or some of the enforcement actions that are out there, sure, they talk about this great world of DeFi, but really what they're doing is they raised a bunch of money on chain, sold it all, took it all off chain. There's a token out there with zero liquidity. Yeah. And now it's like the community's left to fend for itself. And that happens. Or I lost, I was hacked. Hack happened.
Yeah.
Those are not, the transparency doesn't just exist in the human form, it exists in the digital form as well with what's going on, what's happening. I can't tell you how many times people ask, because some people don't know how to look at all this stuff.
Yeah.
And they ask, what happened here and what happened here? And the ability to go back on chain and say, this is exactly what happened, right? This is like a new paradigm that
Yeah.
we've never experienced before.
Yeah.
And we're all still learning it. I think what's going to be interesting is how AI plays into community engagement, community involvement. That's going to be a completely different paradigm.
Yes.
It's going to transform our lives as much as the internet, and probably an order of magnitude more than the internet itself.
How do you think or envision AI impacting or complementing digital assets?
Yeah, we work with Hedera. As you got the socks on,
yeah.
he's got the socks on.
I
So
just-
you're gonna see a picture
Sorry.
of that.
Yeah.
No, you're good. If you got Hedera socks on, you can do whatever you want. So you got to get some BankSocial socks next.
Yes,
I'll
I
get you
do.
some. We need to connect, and a shirt. But with AI, this massive convergence of the ability to provide trust to AI, right? You can hear early on in the Chat GPT lifecycle, where are you getting your data from? How are you sourcing
Yeah.
your data? Where's it coming from?
Exactly.
Even to the point of take it one step back from that with Facebook, right? Facebook with Google, where are they getting data from? Are they mining it from you? The government is about to come down pretty significantly, but if they come down without a way to mitigate it
Yeah.
or to manage it, it's not going to matter. And that's what's kept them from coming down too hard. They've had to slow play it. But now with DLT, with AI coming, you've got to do it. Like, we work with financial institutions, and one of the questions is that I always ask them, they're starting to experiment with chat AI bots.
Yeah.
And so if you come in, like, here's an interesting thing that happened. A guy in Denver basically figured out, he was a computer programmer, figured out that the car dealership was a chat GPT bot. He told it, this is a legally binding agreement, got it to agree to a $1 price of the car, right? So if I'm a financial institution and I put this chat bot up there, and now you come in, you talk to it, and the next time it talks to the next person, it's working off that data, it hallucinates, it tells them all about me, who's liable? And DLT really solves a lot of the foundational problems that AI brings to the table, mostly around where do you get your data?
Yeah.
How do you segregate the data, right? You're saying you're training it on this data. Did you? Was there any mixing of the data, right? You're talking about Enron to an exponential scale if you don't have the ability to quantify where data is, where provenance of data is. Because just think, if you've got an AI model now that's trained on billions and billions of tokens, and it makes a mistake and you go in there and wipe it clean, how do you keep the record of this? How do you prove, how does the person who was affected now have the ability to be compensated?
Yeah.
I think the DLT is going to play a major role in AI.
I couldn't agree more. And it's really exciting to hear you echo a lot of the things that were said on stage, and many things that I believe based on experience as well. Is there any closing thoughts that you'd like to leave with the audience? Who are your target customers? How can they find you?
Yeah, so BankSocial.io, again, we've got the DAO, we've got this decentralized governance model. It's really great. It just operates on its own, which is the coolest part of watching this thing grow. So we built it, we created it, and then we put it out there and let the community come at it. And it just self-moderates and self-regulates. It's really cool. BankSocial.io. I can't really talk about our clients. I can say that we just signed 2 more today, credit unions. We're growing at a really great pace with the goal of putting the person in a ownership capability as close to the ownership of the financial outcome that we possibly can.
Awesome. Eric, thank you for your time, sir.
Pleasure.
Looking forward to getting those BankSocial socks at your
I got
convenience.
you. I got you. Yeah.